Dating can definitely be a stressful proposition, and even with the current social mores morphing a little bit, it still doesn't mean that you're not going to stress about finances, about how you look, and about how you smell. So the last thing you want to have to do is stress about those things that you can control. There are a ton of things that you can't control in the dating scenario, but how you smell is definitely something that you can control. And today I'm going to show you how you can do that by making use of 10 sexy but very inexpensive designer fragrances, coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Tommy with Studio Sense. There are two things that can make a guy run really fast: a girl that says yes, or a really good sell on an expensive fragrance. We've all been that guy, right? The super eager and just ready to go, ready to rock and roll. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But in our preamble to find the best deal or to get that date, we don't want to forget that there's a way to approach something that we can have the best level of success, and all it requires is raising your level of awareness just a little bit. Now you're in an incredible position where you can either go on autopilot and hope the best works out, or you can raise your level of awareness a little bit, just enough to where you can be your best self, right? Present the best version of yourself to the person you're interested in. And if you're enough interested in them, you'll have a meeting of the minds and it'll be one of the best dates you've ever had, guaranteed. So this video is just to take away the stress from choosing the right fragrance for you. I'm going to give you a lot of options that are very inexpensive, and you're not going to break the bank, and you're going to come away with something that's extremely valuable. In fact, most of these fragrances smell better than the $200, $300, $400 fragrances out there that are supposed to be quote unquote the absolute best. Today, I've got you covered. Now, none of these fragrances are in a rating war about which is sexier than the other. I could do a video about that. I probably will do a video about that in the future. But no, today there's no countdown, right? So there's not any particular order that I'm going to be pulling these out. Just the ones literally in the chronology that I thought of them. That's how I'll be presenting them to you. Also, I wanted to briefly mention that since the primary purpose of this video is related to expenses, I'm trying to find you fragrances at an economy price. The price that I'm going to be quoting is of a lower quantity, because this is, again, my opinion. This is solely based on my opinion. But I would rather be able to have enough money to get more different fragrances than to buy that fragrance, any one particular fragrance, in a greater quantity. In other words, if I can get a 100 ml bottle for $80, or I can get two 50 ml bottles for $40, I would rather get two different fragrances than one 100 ml bottle of a single fragrance. That's a great way to get a collection of fragrances that you can have on rotation. It's a great way to get started, because a lot of fragrances are offered in several sizes for that reason, to make it a little bit more affordable. You can broaden your collection and therefore broaden the choices and the options that you have. And in the dating world, that's definitely something that you want to do, because you're going to feel like wearing something one day that you may not feel like wearing the next. And having 2 or 3 options, 4 or 5 options, as opposed to 1 or 2, is always a better place to be in. All right, so in no particular order, we're going to start out our list today of sexy designer fragrances that are excellent for date night for men with Versace Eros. Gianni Versace was fascinated by Greek mythology. He used the now iconic face of Medusa for his branding. The goal of Versace Eros is to reveal and release unrestrained passion and to accentuate desire. In fact, Eros is the son of the Greek goddess Aphrodite, right? The goddess of love. And as such, he's a great representation. In fact, out of all the fragrances in the Versace line, Eros is said to most aptly represent the direction and the goal and mission of the house of Versace and the direction it's going. Eros features mint, green apple, vetiver, tonka, oak moss, vanilla, and cedar. This nighttime seductive club banger is a classic, and I really think it lives up to its name. It's one of the few fragrances out there that employ notes like mint and vanilla, and yet avoid that sweet gourmand lane, right? So it's still in the lane of strong, charismatic, masculine fragrances, and yet it has a brief sweet side without actually being sweet. Don't get me wrong, this fragrance here may have vanilla and tonka in it, which tends to kind of cant on the side of sweet, but it is not a sweet fragrance. It has just enough of an edge. And what I like about this is it does something that not a lot of fragrances do, and it's almost got like an after smell, you know, like an aftertaste. This has almost like an after smell, and it's a very pleasant, it's what I've come to term the Eros bite. And what the Eros bite is a combination of mint and vetiver. Mint and vetiver make a combination it makes it kind of like pop in your nose, and it kind of leaves an after smell. And once it's there, you can't unsmell it, but it is thankfully pleasant. So it's not something that you don't like. Versace Eros. It's a classic date night fragrance. Very briefly, I'm going to post a screenshot of where I've found these fragrances, mostly at fragrance.net, sometimes at perfume.com or fragrancex.net, or sometimes occasionally on eBay. But most of the time you can find it at fragrance.net. Next up is Euphoria Intense for Men by Calvin Klein. I absolutely love this fragrance. I'll post it above my head because I've actually reviewed this before based on a video about date night fragrances, how to up your A game with dating. So it's been in a list of mine before because it's absolutely perfect for that. In fact, that's the purpose for which this was created. But one of the commercials for Euphoria Intense for Men featured a man and a woman on a beach scenario, and what better locale than you've got a beach, you've got all that white space of nature, you've got sand, you've got water, you've got sun, and it's such an intimate yet seductive and alluring setting. Perfect location, perfect commercial spot for something like this. This is a very underrated fragrance. You're not going to find a lot of locations talking about Euphoria Intense for Men. It occasionally made some people's lists, but I hold this fragrance in high esteem for the purpose with which it was created, and that is close, intimate setting of a man and a woman, or two people that are extremely attracted to each other. Euphoria Intense features spices like myrrh, it's got ambergris or ambroxan, it's got vetiver, labdanum. Again, very familiar notes, but as I've said time and time again, and I'll continue to tout, it's how well blended notes are. And there's a myriad different variations when you blend ingredients together and they become harmonious and they work so well together. So you can have the same thing that be extremely different in a different situation, and that's the way the notes work in Euphoria Intense. Euphoria Intense is a creamy, dulcet, honeyed, and I mean honeyed more for texture, but it's a dulcet, honeyed invitation into the delicacies of desire. This fragrance has better than average longevity and projection. The sillage trail on this is absolutely amazing. In fact, you can confidently spray a couple of sprays of this on early in the day and know that it's going to follow you throughout your challenges. It's up to the challenge as long as you are. Euphoria Intense will follow you. I've gotten probably 8 to 10 hours of longevity out of this, and when I say longevity, I don't mean at the very end it's nothing but a skin scent. It still maintains most of its body throughout the last 2 to 3 hours of that 8-hour time frame. The ginger and sage notes in this create a sillage aura on your skin, and the ginger makes this pop. The sage and the ginger, it just makes it pop on your skin. Combined with amber and a mixture of spices, Euphoria Intense harkens on the lightly sweet side, but it goes heavy on the masculine allure. Don't get me wrong, this fragrance is a very heady fragrance. In fact, if your ultimate goal is to end up in an intimate setting, like a bedroom setting in the evening, you might want to go light on this, or at the very least, plan it. So spray this on at least 6 to 8 hours before you plan on ending up in that intimate setting, because you want this to be alluring and not cloying. And the difference between the two is the amount of sprays that you're actually wearing or the time frame on which you sprayed this. So if you set yourself up in advance 6 to 8 hours before you're in that intimate setting, you spray 2 or 3 sprays of this, you're going to be in the perfect situation for this to be inviting and not push them away by being too heavy-handed and too cloying. Next up is Dolce & Gabbana The One EDP, and oh boy, this beautiful little bottle of hypnotic ambrosia right here is so amazing. This is just a 50 ml bottle. For this, I would buy a 100 ml bottle, but that's just me. You try it first, but I'm pretty confident that the community has responded in such a positive and affirmative way to the One EDP that I'm pretty confident you'll want to get a 100 ml bottle of this as well. But again, start out with, I have both, you know, and I just wanted to show you that this is the smaller bottle. My larger bottle is about half gone, so I'll alternate between the two so as not to run out yet. And I believe they are a very similar batch. This right here is a surefire compliment getter, and it's like wearing x-ray glasses to good intentions. Inhibitions just melt away when you have this on. It is such an alluring, such a seductive masterpiece, and it does what it does so extremely well that really this is all you need. It creates that ultimate apex of seduction and desire right at your fingertips. You are 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 pumps away from seduction just laying down its arms and surrendering and just completely giving in. Surrendering or giving in lays the mutual groundwork for a new governance, and that is the law of love. This classic date night fragrance features notes of grapefruit, coriander, basil, and similarly to Euphoria Intense, it also has an effervescent ginger and amber, tobacco, and cedar. Along with this obvious near hypnotic quality, I mean, I really have trouble getting my nose out of this. But one of the reasons is like when you smell something, you're going through a laundry list, no pun intended, because I was getting ready to say that this makes me think of clean laundry without the cottony smell, but you literally are ticking off like all these things that it makes you think of, and or maybe it just eradicates thought from your mind and it just cleans you. It's like a clean slate, and that's what this does. It's almost like before smelling this, you have all kinds of options, right? There's all these, I'm getting ready to go over all 10 of these, but when you smell this, it's like it cleans the slate of all 10 of these. Like, why? This is it. This is the one. And in that way, it really brings home the name. You're like, okay, I get it. I get it now. Wow, ping. It's like eureka, the one. Now I know why they call this the one, because when you smell it, like, you don't need anything else. This is the one. So similarly, you want her to feel that same exact way. When she smells this on you, you want the thought to go through her head too, that I don't need to date anyone else. This guy right here, this guy in front of me, smelling like this, he is the one. Now, the One EDP is a deeper, darker, denser version of the eau de toilette, right? So they do smell, you know, very, very, very similar. There's just more of what's good about the EDT in the EDP. And as such, it does have a lot better longevity and a lot better projection as well. This is what I would term to be a relatively soft fragrance. As such, you don't have to be super conservative when you're spraying it on. So you don't want to reserve yourself to just 1 or 2 sprays. You can go a little bit heavy on this without worrying about it too much, because again, it is a little bit more on the soft side or non-aggressive side. Although human beings are very complex beings and creatures, there are similarities that we all share, and one of the similarities is that within all of us, within all of our gray matter, there lies within us a neuro pathway that was created or put there by a juxtaposition of experience and imagination, and that is what does it for us, what's alluring to us, what's alluring to you, what's seductive to you. You know, it's there, that neural pathway is there. But one of the neat things about the one is this pings almost everyone's neural pathway. This is within the radar of everyone's idea of what alluring and what is attractive and what is seductive. That's what's amazing, I think, about the one, is they got it right. They really got it right. So, and there probably are a few people out there right now that are like, I don't get it. I don't smell that. It doesn't do anything for me. And that's perfectly fine. You're part of the few that doesn't feel that way, and that's okay. There's something else that ticks the boxes for you in terms of your neural pathway, your neurology. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up part 1. Yes, this is going to be a 2-part series. Part 2, of course, is going to be released tomorrow, so stay tuned. If you haven't already actually if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do that first. Otherwise, you can't take advantage of the notification system, so hit the bell icon if you haven't done that, and you'll get notified tomorrow when I drop part 2, top 10 designer fragrances that are sexy and economical for date nights for men. Thank you so much for tuning in, and more than anything, thank you so much for your support. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time. Actually, tomorrow.